Along with John Cena, the Animal Batista was meant to usher in a new era of WWE and lead the way for the next generation. He had several years on top of the card after a career-defining feud with Triple H and Evolution, and was a top star on SmackDown as their World Heavyweight Champion. But company changes began to frustrate him later in his career, and dreams of going on to do other things were being stopped by WWE, which led to the Animal leaving. I am Luke Owen, and this is the real reason Batista quit WWE in 2010. Although he debuted in 2002 as Deacon Batista for Devon Dudley's singles run on SmackDown, it wasn't until January 2003 that he became a star as part of the stable Evolution with Triple H, Ric Flair, and Randy Orton. Evolution dominated Monday Night Raw for nearly 2 years, including Triple H's infamous Reign of Terror, and Batista even won the tag team titles with Flair. He eventually turned babyface in 2005 and won his first World Heavyweight Championship from Triple H at WrestleMania 21, which Dave Meltzer called the peak of one of the company's best storylines in years. On that same Mania, John Cena won the WWE Championship from JBL, and the two traded shows shortly thereafter. Batista became the focal point of the blue brand for several years, holding the World Heavyweight Championship a couple more times and winning the Tag Team Championships with Rey Mysterio. In 2009, Batista turned heel on Mysterio after he broke up the Animal's pin in a fatal 4-way match for the World Heavyweight Championship. It was a heel run that many felt was the best portion of his WWE tenure. But it was around this time that Batista started to become unhappy, and there were 3 key reasons to his departure in 2010. The first reason was an announcement made in 2008 that would change the landscape of WWE for years to come. WWE's family programming has been deemed a PG television rating by their network distributors. World Wrestling Entertainment has been engaging families across all generations with their family programming for more than 2 decades, and will continue to do so for years to come with all the action on Raw, SmackDown, and ECW. Batista felt this was the wrong direction for the company, and that PG finishes would ruin wrestling. The complaint he had with pro wrestling was the PG direction, saying the kind of wrestling he liked was the era of Steve Austin and The Rock, and you can't do that stuff anymore. It just felt like they went against everything our business was. I really felt they were killing our business and killing the art form of it. But how could PG ruin finishes, Dave? It's not like you'll lose a last man standing match by having your feet duct taped around the... Oh yeah. The second reason was that Batista began to train in MMA for a potential side career in UFC or Strikeforce. Another former WWE champion who went into mixed martial arts with great success was Brock Lesnar, who had this to say when someone asked him about Batista joining UFC during a conference call hyping his fight with Shane Carwin. Get in line. Everybody and their dog wants to get into fighting, you know? I can't. Next question. We're talking about a heavyweight championship fight here, not some wannabe. Perhaps the biggest reason though was Batista's aspirations of being a professional actor. With his contract coming to an end in 2010, the Animal faced 2 options. He could re-sign and take time off to do his movies, or he could let his contract expire and go and make it on his own. Many in the company at the time believed he would just take some time off in 2010, which would help him heal from his injuries, and then return later in the year or in 2011. Batista signed a 4-picture deal with David DeFalco, a former wrestler turned film director, which kicked off with Wrong Side of Town starring Rob Van Dam. DeFalco's next movie was House of the Rising Sun, which he wanted Batista to star in. Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis told Batista he could have the time off to shoot the movie if he re-signed. But then Vince found out. Vince said, not as long as he's under contract, so relations were not good after that point. Around this time, Batista was also scheduled to star in the WWE Studios movie Inside Out in the lead role, but with his contract negotiations up in the air, he was removed from the project. Instead, the role was offered to Shawn Michaels, who turned it down, and then went to Triple H at the request of Vince. All of this came to a head on the May 24th edition of Monday Night Raw. Batista came out in a wheelchair selling the injuries from his I Quit match with John Cena the previous night, and was told told by new Raw GM Bret Hart that he would face Randy Orton later in the show. Batista instead announced he was quitting WWE. Although it seemed like a storyline, this was a legitimate quitting of the company, and his profile on WWE.com was quickly moved to the alumni page. After leaving WWE, TNA made an offer for him to jump ship, but couldn't afford the money he was on in WWE, especially after spending a lot of money bringing in Rob Van Dam, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Jeff Hardy, Ric Flair, Scott Hall, Sean Waltman, The Nasty Boys, and Val Venus. Money well spent. Batista did compete in MMA in 2012, beating 45 veteran Vince Lucero by TKO in the first round. But it was in acting where Big Dave found most success. Starting off with direct-to-DVD movies like The Scorpion King 3: Battle for Redemption, Batista eventually worked his way up to land roles in Hollywood blockbusters Guardians of the Galaxy, James Bond, and the 2017 sequel to Blade Runner. What was the real reason Stone Cold Steve Austin walked out on WWE in 2002? And which 8 wrestlers hate each other in real life? Click the videos to the left to find out more. Press subscribe and support WrestleTalk on Patreon. I have been Luke Owen, and that was the real reason.